Let me ask you something. What if the safety you feel right now is the very thing putting you at risk? What if your routine, your job, your accounts are just a mirage of stability? Now, what is the mirage of stability? It's the false sense that everything's fine, that nothing's urgent, and that you'll be ready when it matters. But that feeling, it doesn't protect you. It blinds you. Because here's what I've seen. Most people don't act because everything feels fine. They're lulled by the illusion of control until the storm comes. By the end of this video, you'll know the 3 biggest lies people believe about financial stability, and you'll walk away with a simple plan to make sure your house isn't one of the ones that gets wiped out. Welcome to For My Sons. It's a place where I share the truths that I'd want my own kids growing up knowing. So whether you're my son by birth or a brother by purpose, my hope is the same, that you prosper and that you live free and that you build your life on truth, not confusion. So let's grow together. In February of 2021, Texas froze, not figuratively, literally. Power lines cracked, water stopped flowing, people died in their homes. Why? Because no one thought it was going to get that bad. Now let me tell you why my family was okay. Not because I'm smart, and not because I saw the future, and not because I had it all figured out. I was living on my parents' ranch, and they, my mom and dad, had made the preparations. We had food, we had water, we had heat. So while others were lining up for generators that they should have bought months earlier, we were just living. Warm, safe, calm. That storm taught me more about money than any finance book I've ever read, because I saw it with my own eyes. People don't act until it's too late. They say, I'll save when I make more, or I'll invest when the market cools down, or I'll prepare after this next vacation. But when the shelves are empty, and when the banks close, and when your card won't swipe, and your phone won't charge, you realize something. Procrastination is expensive. So let me give you some wisdom that's lasted thousands of years. All right, so it comes from a man who was the richest man who ever lived, and he was also the wisest man who ever lived. It was a guy named King Solomon. He was wealthy, powerful, respected. And when he looked for wisdom in nature, he didn't point to an eagle or to a lion or to an empire builder. He pointed to an ant. You see, Proverbs 6, verses 6 through 8 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler. Yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." Why did Solomon admire the ant? Because no one has to tell it what to do. It just knows winter is always coming. So it doesn't wait for a plan, and it doesn't wait for pressure. It doesn't need a crisis to get moving. It prepares in the good times, so it survives the hard ones. That's the wisdom we need today, not fear, not panic, just preparation. Because when the storm comes, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll fall to your level of preparation. So if you wait for the storms to start planning, you're already lost. Economic storms aren't coming someday. They're already forming. Quietly, slowly, invisibly. This message it really isn't about fear. It's about forecasting. I'm not here to tell you what to buy. I'm here to offer a suggestion on how to think. Because the biggest risk you're carrying right now is the false belief that you're fine. If we don't agree that planning ahead matters more than guessing right, then nothing else I say after this is going to make any sense. So, what I'm going to do is show you what I've learned after working with hundreds of families in my financial practice and what changed in my own life after that storm. These are the three big lies that people believe about the mirage of stability. And they're the reason most people will get wiped out in the next crisis. So here's what we're going to unpack. Why looking wealthy is the easiest way to stay broke. How comfort tricks us into trusting the wrong things. And why real planning starts under your roof, not in the stock market. So let's get into lie number one. All right, so let me ask you something. Why do so many people who look wealthy get wrecked in the moment something shifts? Nice house, nice car, good job, one emergency, gone. Why? Because looking rich isn't the same thing as being ready. Proverbs 13:7 says, one person pretends to be rich yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor yet has great wealth. And in Luke 12 it says, take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But just a few verses later, Jesus calls that man a fool. Why? Because he thought comfort was a plan. But comfort is not a strategy, it's a sedative. I see it all the time in my practice. People who make great money, but spend it faster than it comes in. People who have investment portfolios, but they've got no pantry. People who have earned six figures, or they have six figures in an app, but nothing in their hand. You see, that's the mirage of stability. Everything looks good until something breaks. The power goes out, the banks freeze, the job disappears, the taxes double. Then we find out the plan wasn't real. It just looked good on paper. So how do you fix it? You start building from the bottom up. You stop waiting for the crisis and you start preparing while things are still calm. So let me be blunt. If your life only works when everything works, you don't have a plan. You have a performance. And when the curtain falls, debt, delay, dependence. Here's how I explain it to my clients. Real financial planning doesn't start with your 401k. It starts with food. Real financial planning starts with food. I'm talking about real food, stuff that you eat. I'm a huge fan of food that has a shelf life of at least 20 years, okay? Because when the trucks stop rolling, your Roth IRA won't feed your kids. Second, water. Not just a case in your pantry. Stored water, backup plans, filters you know how to use. Why? Because when the grid fails, plumbing can fail too. Third, cash. Small bills in hand in a safe. Because when the ATM goes dark, the guy selling the last generator at Home Depot doesn't take Apple Pay. Proverbs 21:20 says, the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but the fools gulp theirs down. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. Proverbs 6 says, look to the ant. It stores provisions in summer and gathers food at harvest. The ant isn't panicking. It's planning. It's not afraid of winter. It just knows winter is coming. This is your foundation. Not sexy, but strong. Once you build this layer, food, water, cash, basic protection, then you can talk about investments. Then you can talk about strategy. Until then, you're building a second story on a house with no foundation. So let me say it like this. Every level of planning is only as strong as the level below it. Some people crumble fast, others don't. And when everything goes wrong, you fall back to your foundation. Now, most people think that the goal is to be comfortable. Nice home, no debt, decent retirement account, a couple of vacations a year, They think, if I get there, I've made it. But what if I told you something different? Comfort isn't the goal. It's a trap. Ecclesiastes 11:4 says, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. Translation, comfort makes people wait. Wait for the perfect time, the perfect number, the perfect signal. But when the clouds clear, the season's already gone. Comfort tells you, there's no rush. You're probably fine. Things have always worked out before. But that's the lie. Because the most dangerous season is the one that feels safe. Let me break it down. People act when they're in pain or they see opportunity. But comfort kills both. Comfort numbs pain and comfort hides opportunity. Comfort says, you got time. But here's the problem. Matthew 24:43 says, if the owner of the house had known when the thief was coming, he would have kept watch. Comfort makes us leave the door unlocked, not because we're rebellious, but because we're relaxed. Comfort is not peace. Peace is earned through preparation. Comfort is rented with ignorance. So let me say it this way. Comfort will sell you on delay right when you should be moving. That's why I tell my clients, when it feels like you don't need to plan, that's exactly when you must. Because once the need is obvious, it's already expensive. I'd rather build a bridge today than swim in floodwater tomorrow. Most people think planning starts with the stock market. Should I invest in real estate? Should I move to gold or crypto? Should I open up a Roth IRA? But that's not where real planning starts. Real planning starts under your roof, right where you live, with the people you love and with what you actually control. So let me show you what I mean. You can have the perfect asset allocation, but if your spouse doesn't know where you keep the passwords, you're not ready. You can have $500,000 in a brokerage account, but if your kids don't know how to handle it, it won't last. You can be a high earner, but if your home is one accident away from chaos, you don't have a plan. You have a paycheck. So here's how I help clients with their mindset. Stop thinking like earners and start thinking like builders. Here's how. 1, write your playbook. If you were gone tomorrow, would your spouse know where the documents are? Would she know who to call? Would she know what bills exist? Would she know where to find the passwords? If not, you're not planning. You're assuming. 2, stabilize the first layer. Your first responsibility isn't growing assets. It's protecting your people. Before you chase investments, secure your foundation. That means emergency fund, stored water, cash and small bills, basic protection, a safe for important documents, password backups, life insurance. You don't build a skyscraper on sand. You build it on a rock. Every level of your financial life is only as strong as the level beneath it. If the foundation's weak, the whole house falls fast. Proverbs 24:3 says, by wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. That's not just wealth, that's wisdom right there. 3, transfer wisdom, not just wealth. Too many people plan for retirement, but never train their children. Too many people build wealth, but don't pass on how to use it. What good is leaving money if you don't leave meaning? The best financial plan doesn't just protect your net worth. It protects your values. Because at the end of it all, you won't be judged by your portfolio. You'll be remembered by your preparation. So today we started with a story, not about money, about a storm, a cold, unexpected, brutal storm. And what did it show? You don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of preparation. My family didn't weather that storm well because we're special. We made it because our parents prepared. That's the whole point of this message. And by the way, mom and dad, if you're watching this, I just want to tell you that you're my hero. Both of you are my hero. You saved us. You guys are awesome. The same mindset applies to your money, to your legacy, and to your household. So let me ask you plainly, where have you been comfortable when you should have been planning? Where have you been watching the clouds instead of planting seeds? And where have you been assuming instead of acting? You already feel it. The shift is coming. Debt is rising. Taxes are coming. Prices are unstable. The illusion of safety is cracking. But here's the good news. Storms don't have to scare you when you've already laid the foundation. This isn't about fear, man. This is about leadership. This is your wake-up call before the storm. Not to panic, not to wait and see, but to build. Proverbs 21:31 says, "The horse is made ready for battle, but victory rests with the Lord." We don't control the outcomes, but we are called to be ready. So here's your assignment. This is the 7-step household foundation checklist. The first item is food. Real food that your family actually eats, enough for weeks. Water, stored clean water. Backups, filters. 3, cash. Physical cash and small bills. In a safe. 4, protection. Legal, physical, digital, guns and ammo, whatever fits your values. 5, life insurance. Term coverage is usually the best for households. Secure documents, printed, stored, and backed up. And then 7, password access, shared, stored, and up to date. These aren't luxuries. Like, these are the basics. You see, what I found is most people worship their 401k, but the real flex is having a plan that works when life punches you in the face. Talk to your family, walk through this list, write your playbook. Stop trusting comfort as proof that you're safe, because when the next storm hits, and it will, you'll have 2 choices. Panic like everyone else, or be the one people call when the lights go out. The world doesn't need more noise. It really does need leaders. Quiet ones, prepared ones, ones who don't flinch when the wind kicks up. You don't prepare during the storm. You prepare before it. That's how you lead. And that's how you last. And that's how you leave something that stands. If this video helped you, share it. Talk to someone you care about. And give me some dap by subscribing and smashing that like button. Thanks for listening, and let's keep building.